Hello and welcome to my studio. In this video I'm going to show you how I made this picture. Capturing a leaf as it floats down epitomizes an autumn-winter scene, but capturing it for real is very hit and miss. This image was staged in a studio, and technically it's not difficult to do. So in this video I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. Okay, so this is what I've got set up so far. I've just placed this log on this table. So what I want to do next is just stage the scene. So here I have a piece of glass, and on this glass I've got some leaves. So what I'm going to do is place the glass over the top of the log like this, and then I can arrange the leaves where I want them to be. So in order to make the glass stay where it is, I'm just going to use a lab stand. There we are. So now I can arrange the leaves properly when the camera's set up, which is the next thing to do. So I'm going to set up a tripod at the front here. Now you will need a tripod for this because I'm going to use multiple exposures in order to get rid of the glass completely from the scene. You'll see what I mean as we carry on. Okay, so the next thing to do would be to just pop a camera on the top of the tripod. So I'm using a medium format camera with a 120mm macro lens on the front of it. This is tethered into Capture One software, so it's easy to follow along and see the results as I get them. Okay, so we just pop this on the top of the tripod like that, and I'll just turn the camera on. There we are. And you can see that the software has recognized the camera, and I have all the settings that I've got on the camera mirrored in the software here. So at the moment it's in full manual mode. I've got a shutter speed of 1/30th of a second, ISO 800, and the aperture is wide open for this particular lens, which is f4. Now, if you're using a full frame format camera, you'll get a similar field of view from something like a 75mm lens. Right, so the next thing to do would be just to set up the shot. So I'll just look through the viewfinder, and I'll just initially focus the lens just for a test shot. Somewhere around there should do. There we are. And just at those settings, I'll grab a test image, just using the house lights for illumination. So in this image we can see that the composition is okay, it's not brilliant. I think the camera angle is a bit wrong. I'd like to have it quite a lot higher. So what I can do on this particular tripod is just wind it up on the center column, which is geared. So I'll just take that up to a more reasonable height. There we are. And now I can just point that back down at the subject again, just using the geared head on the tripod. There we are. So with that adjusted, I'll grab that again. Yes, that looks a bit better to me. So this is what we had before, and this is what I've got now. I think the focus has drifted slightly, and also I'd like to reposition these leaves. So what I'm going to do to help me do that is use Live View. So I'll just start up Live View in the software here. This will give me a live picture from the camera on the screen here. So now I can adjust the position of the leaves whilst watching the screen, which is a lot easier than peering through the viewfinder and moving backwards and forwards. So I'll just move that down a little bit like that. And I think this one can just move to there. Yeah, that looks okay. It is a lot simpler to do it that way than to try and go backwards and forwards all the time from the camera. The other thing I can do with this is just check the focus. So I'll just zoom all the way into the middle of the image there. And now using these focusing controls here, I can change the focus point on the lens. So if I just click on this one, for instance, that's moving the focus point closer, and this one is moving the focus point further away. There we are. Okay, so with that focused, I can close down live view and we'll just grab another image just to see those changes. Yes, that looks a bit better. Let's just zoom all the way in and check the focus on the image. Yeah, that's good. You can see all the detail in the leaf there. So what I want to do now is reset these settings so that I cut out all of this available light. I want to light this image with Studio Flash. That way I can control exactly where the shadows from these leaves actually end up. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is just change this to the flash sync speed for this camera, which is 1/125th of a second. I'll take the ISO back down to 100. And as for the aperture, I don't really want to use f4. The depth of field will be far too narrow. So I want something which is going to give me quite a large depth of field. So I'm going to change that to f16. So not only will that give me a large depth of field, but changing all those settings should cut out all of this ambient light. So let's just grab that and make sure. Yep, there we go. Completely black image. Exactly what I want. So now any light which I add will be the only light which affects the subject. Okay, so what I'm going to do is use this Studio Flash, and I'm just going to place it in position at the back here, something like that. So I'm predominantly backlighting this. Okay, so for an initial position, that's not bad. And to get me in the ballpark, I'm just going to use TTL on the flash system here, just to grab that image. There we go. Now you may have noticed that the flash fired twice. That's because for the first time it was just assessing the scene, and for the second time it was grabbing the image. Okay, so this is what we've got. So the exposure's not bad. You can see that we've got quite a few double images due to the glass. That doesn't really bother me. We can get rid of that a little later. I'll show you exactly what we're going to do with that. But within the image, what I am bothered about is the quality of the shadow that I'm getting from the leaves. And it's okay, it is there, but it's not very prominent. And that's down to the position of this light. So to make the shadows a bit more prominent, what I'm going to actually do is move this further away. There we are, something like that. So we'll just grab that again, but I'm still going to leave the camera in TTL because having moved it further away, due to the inverse square law, I'm going to need more energy. So it'll just get me in the ballpark. Here we go. There we are. So that's starting to get there. It's a little overexposed. I think it's getting a little confused by having all this black in the background. So what I'm going to do is just take it out of TTL, just place it in manual, and I'll take a full stop off to start with. There we go. And I'll just grab that again. Yes, that's a bit better. And now I'm getting some better shadows. So this is what we had with the light close in, and this is what we've got now. So you can see the difference in the shadows, but it's still not brilliant. So what I'm going to do is just rearrange the image a little, and to help me do that, I'm just going to turn the house lights out and turn the modeling light on. There we are. And then again, using live view, I can just move the leaves around until the shadows are in the places that I want them. There we are. And this one at the back moves slightly as well. There, that's working okay, I think. Jolly good. Right, so with that, I can grab an image. We'll see what it looks like this time. Yes, that's the sort of thing I want. And I'm getting some nice shadows now, which is a bit of an improvement over where we were before. This is what we had before, and this is what I've got now. So I can dispense with the modeling light and turn the house lights back on and do the next stage. I just want to check the color balance. So I'm just going to use one of these color checkers, And what I'm going to do is just temporarily hold this in the scene and just grab an image. There we are. And now I can use the white balance tool within the software here just to check the white balance like that. There we are, that's good. Excellent. With that done, I can just grab that again. There we are, so that's my color corrected image. So everything looks more or less in the right place. Okay, so now I need to capture a blank slate. That would be an image without any of the glass in or the leaves. Before I move everything, I'm just going to grab one more image just to make sure. And I've specifically grabbed it using the software here, so I'm not moving the camera at all. And now I'm going to very carefully remove the glass out of the scene. There we are. And without touching anything, including the camera, I'll just grab another image now. And that will give me my blank slate, which is just the log without any of the leaves in place. Okay, so with those two images now captured, it's just time to go into Photoshop and do the post-production. Okay, so here we are in Photoshop, and I've loaded up the two files that I captured earlier. So I've got this one with the leaves on the glass, and I've got this one which is the blank slate. So the first job is to make a stack of those two images so they both end up on different layers. And the easy way to do that is just to go to File, come down to Scripts, load files into Stack, and ask it to add the open files. I'm also going to ask it to attempt to automatically align. Just click on OK. There we are, and now you can see that it's made a new file which has one image on each layer. So I can dispense with the camera originals. I've always got those to go back to. This is the one that I'll be actually editing. So just to check for alignment, etc., what I'm going to do is just select the top one like this, and I'm just going to take the opacity down temporarily to about 50%. There we are. And that just shows me that this part of the image, the bit that I'm interested in, is in line properly. Okay, so the next thing to do would be to just isolate the leaves. And the way I'm going to do that is just by using the Object Selection tool here. Now, if you find that you don't have that tool in the tool stack, just go to the three dots at the bottom here, right-click the mouse and ask it to edit the toolbar. You can then pick it out of here and place it in the extra tools. Okay, so with this tool selected, just make sure that you're in lasso mode. There are a few different modes. You can have rectangle. I prefer to use lasso. And basically all you're going to do is just draw around each leaf like this, just roughly there, and it will select the contents of that lasso move. So I now need to do it for the other two leaves. So just holding down the Shift key on the keyboard, I can now add another selection. So I'll just go around this leaf like so, and finally go around this one as well. So with those now selected, what I want to do is now turn that selection into a mask. So the easy way to do that would be, just with that selection still active, just click on the mask icon on the bottom here. There we are. So that has now selected those leaves. So if I just drop out the underlying image, that is what we've got as a selection, and that is our complete image. Because these are all lined up, everything lines up in the background and the leaves just appear to float. Okay, so we're almost there. But one of the things you might have noticed is that the shadows have now disappeared. That's because they've been affected by that mask. So what I want to do is just bring those shadows back through again. So make sure the mask is selected here, and also make sure that white is the foreground colour. So anywhere that I paint on white will bring through the underlying image. So grab a paintbrush and bring through the shadows. There we are. And should you make an error and bring through maybe some of the glass as well, like I've done there, you can always go back again and retouch those pieces out just by changing the foreground colour back to black. There we are. So finally, I just want to select a crop. I'm going to use this for video, so I'm going to use a specific ratio. So from the drop-down list here, I'll pick 16:9. And I'm just going to generally tighten up the image a little. There we are. I quite like that. And there we have it. So by combining two images, one of just the background and one of the background and the leaves, you're able to create the illusion of the leaves floating in midair. And I think that's worked rather well. Okay, well, I hope you liked watching how I made that image, and if you like watching these sort of things, do click on the other images as they appear, and don't forget to subscribe. Oh, and hit the like button. Thank you very much for watching.